minutes. So I think it's 1:05. I'm going to start. Cindy, I'm going to start.
Sure.
All right.
Sure. Hi,
So
everyone.
you're going to introduce yourself. So,
Yeah, I'm excited to share. Yes, hi, everyone. Hello. My name is Cindy, and I feel very privileged to be able to share some of what I've learned about gut health with everyone here. I used to be in telecom, and throughout my own health journey and the experience of taking care of loved ones that have also battled cancer, my best friend, my mother. Through that experience, I've done a lot of research and then decided that I would dive in to study holistic nutrition because I really wanted to help myself, my family, kind of prevent that. And, I wanted to understand a little bit more why my children were getting sick at a young age. My son had migraines, my daughter had food allergies, and there was a lot of issues with the gut health as well. And then I started having some health issues. And so going through that journey, I learned that a lot of what I experienced was just a lot of the food choices that I was making, and maybe just not understanding the symptoms, the language that my body was telling me, and not knowing how to react to those symptoms, the inflammation, the fatigue, the indigestion, all of that. And so going through the steps that I'll share with you, I just transformed my own health. And it was really a very empowering journey. I had a 12 centimeter cyst on my ovary, and I don't have it anymore. And it was a recurring cyst. I had surgery, removed it, and then it came back. And I was just fed up, and I thought I had to find a more deeper approach, a more sustainable approach than just removing it. Like I needed to make personal changes. So I'm going to start sharing my slides, and feel free to comment, feel free to ask questions in the chat box. And so first off, I just wanted to start with a small disclaimer that I am not here to give you any medical advice. I'm just sharing information, sharing what I've learned, what I've seen had helped others. And if you want to make any changes to your diet, or if you want to add supplements, please consult your physician, consult your doctor, your oncologist, to make sure that it is approved. So I'll start off with just welcoming you to the Gut Health webinar. Gut health to me is really the digestive health. It's really everything from your mouth, how you chew your food, all the way to the exit point, including the esophagus, the stomach, your intestines. And so over 2,500 years ago, there was a physician, scientist, a Greek scientist, regarded as the father of Western medicine, Hippocrates, and he believed that all disease begins in the gut. And what I believe is that healing can also begin in the gut. And the reason is because the gut is kind of like the gateway, the entry point of nutrition, but it can also be the entry point of toxins. And so it's not just what food you eat, because if you can't absorb the nutrients, then even if you're eating organic, even if you're eating great wholesome foods, if your gut health is compromised, then you're not able to metabolize and absorb the food. So to me, gut health is really at the core of the foundation of building long-lasting health. So one aspect of gut health involves the stomach acid. So is your stomach acid healthy? Because if your stomach acid is low, then it won't be able to protect the stomach environment. So parasites can grow, certain bacteria can grow, and you could experience diarrhea and sorts like that, or indigestion. The other aspect of gut health is linked with digestive enzymes. I don't know if you've ever seen in the pharmacy, there's digestive enzymes. One of them is called Beano. People who are lactose intolerant can take lactase. So anything that ends with the word ASE, like amylase or lipase or protease, these are all enzymes, and it helps the body break down these types of either carbs or proteins, types of foods. So the digestive enzymes come out through your saliva. There's amylase that helps you digest, break down carbohydrates. So you got to really chew well, make sure that the food is kind of encompassed with your saliva. And then by the time it gets down to your stomach, you're not going to be forcing your pancreas to work harder. So the more work you do up here, the less work is demanded down there. So you're kind of offloading your organs. So yeah, the pancreas also secretes digestive enzymes, but sometimes with stress and with age, the digestive enzymes can get decreased over time. And if if you're not used to eating any raw foods, because raw foods have an abundance of enzymes too. But if like in our current diet, a lot of people, they don't really incorporate a lot of raw veggies or, these types of foods. So over time it could lower. And also the bile level. So your liver secretes bile, and bile is sort of like soap. When you wash dirty dishes, you take the soap and it kind of dissolves large globules of fat into little droplets so your body can absorb it. So if your liver is somehow compromised or congested, then the amount of bile might not be enough. So sometimes people would need to supplement with bile salts, with enzymes, or with even hydrochloric acid. So when you supplement to support your gut. But these are things that you can kind of experience over time depending on the foods you eat. And also mucosal lining, like the whole lining from your mouth all the way through. Is that healthy? Do you have inflammation? So that's all part of gut health. And bowel movements, that's an indicator. If you're getting diarrhea or if you're getting constipated, that's an indicator that somewhere your gut can be supported. And last but not least, I'm going to spend some time talking about this. And this is about the microbiome. So I'd like to know in the chat, if you just want to comment, we can read it after, who here knows what the microbiome is? Like if anybody's familiar with this term. And I'll read the chats later. But if you have any kind of symptoms like bloating and heartburn and nausea, gas, that's also an indicator that your gut health can be better supported. So this is just a sign from your body that you need to pay attention to your digestive system. So the microbiome, it's basically a family of microorganisms. So it consists of bacteria and fungi and viruses. And these viruses could be dormant or passenger viruses. They're not harmful most of the time and when the microbiome is balanced. It's kind of like saying, you have the insects in your garden, you have mosquitoes and flies and spiders and ants, and they all are kind of harmoniously there. They don't pose any harm. But let's say you have an imbalance. So you have like infestation of ants or infestation of spiders. Well, then it becomes a problem. So it's not so much that the bacteria is bad. It's more the imbalance of that ecosystem that can cause harm. So if you have too much candida, too much yeast, then you can have things like thrush, like that white coating on your tongue, and you can have symptoms of inflammation in your mouth or in your getting headaches and things like that. So this is the microbiome, and it's not just in the gut, it's all over the body. It's on your skin, it's on your eyes, it's in the urinary tract. And in fact, when you break down in terms of how many bacteria cells versus human cells, well, it turns out we're 10 times more bacteria than we are human. And in fact, a lot of that bacteria that lives in our gut, it's passed down through our ancestors, like from the grandmother to the mother to the child. And from the vaginal canal coming out, or from the breast milk that goes in. So a lot of that will build up the microbiome. And so it is part of our immune health to have a balanced set of bacteria in our gut. And it also contributes to what we call our gut instinct, because there's definitely some intelligence there where you feel something's not normal, and there's that gut-brain connection. It influences your mood. It influences some level of anxiety if you're unsure of something. So therefore, pay attention to what your gut is saying, and the microbiome plays a big role in that. Here's just to illustrate basically that although a large part of the microbiome resides in our gut, it's definitely everywhere else in the body as well. They found in liver, in the sinus cavity, in the mouth. In fact, now we're seeing more probiotics for different aspects of our body. You'll start seeing probiotics for the mood, for your, if you have, urinary tract infections, or even oral probiotics where you just chew it up and you swish it around in your mouth to replenish the gut bacteria. I'm not sure if any of you here can relate, but the term probiotic wasn't even around over 10 years ago. Like when I was a teenager, I never heard about probiotics. I never heard about microbiome or any of this. But now you can find probiotics in almost every grocery store, in pharmacies. And so there's still a lot of research about that. But I wanted to share that the role of the probiotics of our gut bacteria is not just in digestion, but it's also related to regulating inflammation in our body. It protects inflammation that could occur on the intestines because it's a protective layer of bacteria. It also can help us digest food. It can also help us make nutrition. It makes vitamins like vitamin B and vitamin K, converts tryptophan to serotonin. It converts beta carotene to vitamin A. It plays a role in producing nutrients that we need. It also regulates the metabolism. And in fact, just a little piece of information, there's a mouse study that showed two mice, one that's obese and one that's skinny, and they took the fecal matter, like the feces, they distilled it into the bacteria, and they literally injected the fat mouse's feces into the skinny mouse and vice versa. Same diet, eventually over time, the fat mouse got skinny and the skinny mouse got fat. Same diet. And that had a lot to do with the bacteria and how the metabolism was affected just in the gut. It also plays a role in preventing leaky gut. And that's also another term that is more common nowadays. I've never heard of that before, like 10 years ago. But the term leaky gut really means that the layer on your intestine, so think of it as your skin, protecting you from the outside world. It's the same thing in your gut. It's protecting the outside stuff that's coming in, that's being digested, from getting straight into your bloodstream. But if you were to look at this slide, you can see that, there's these cells and they all have tight junctions. They're kind of side by side. And the nutrients that are broken down can pass through as long as it can open up, for the nutrients. But if there's any chemicals, inflammation, different things in our diet that's causing inflammation in the gut, well, then these holes or tight junctions become bigger, kind of like a fish net that's supposed to catch all the fish, but now the fish net has bigger holes and the fish is just going through. So now you have undigested proteins that are bigger than the body's used to getting into the bloodstream. And all of a sudden the immune system, like you can think of them as cops, like the police, they're like, these guys don't even belong here. What are they doing? And so there's inflammation, there's heightened immune response, there could be food allergies and intolerances, and all of that can affect your mood over time. So the gut bacteria actually resides all along the top of this to protect from inflammation and from pathogenic microbes. So if you're not sure if you have leaky gut, of course, there's signs of indigestion and sensitivity, but there are also indications that could tell you maybe the gut bacteria is a bit off balance. And one of them could be things like strong sugar cravings. If somebody has a lot of yeast in their body and they've been used to feeding the yeast with sugar, they're going to crave more sugar. If there's bloating or excessive belching, there's indigestion, that could also cause fermentation in the gut. And when things ferment, you get bloating, you can get inflammation. It's like rubbing something along your skin over time. It makes it sensitive and inflamed. It's something similar to that. If you do have white coating on your tongue, like thrush, you can check for that later in the mirror. That could be an indication. I remember seeing that in babies when they have that white coating. It's a similar thing that you're getting bacteria buildup. Any type of yeast overgrowth, like there's a vinegar smell from the feet, that could be an indication of yeast overgrowth. And just all of these different symptoms, it could point to, off balance in the bacteria level in the gut. And of course, the skin being the largest elimination organ, if you have toxins going into the bloodstream, then it's going to expel through the skin as well, especially if your liver and your kidneys are already overloaded. So some people will then experience eczema or acne and rashes. And so what disrupts the gut? And this is why it's such a fascinating topic, because there's so many things now in our environment, more today than ever before, because every year we're creating new chemicals, we're creating new vaccines, we're creating new drugs, we're creating new plastics and cosmetics. And this is part of the creative aspect of humanity. But at the same time, this is not to scare you. It's really just to say, But there are ways that you can protect yourself from these new chemicals. For example, the simplest example is getting a good water filter. Calling your city to find out, what's in the tap water. I know that in Montreal, there are some areas, especially in NDG in the East End, that have lead pipes. My aunt actually lives in the East End. She got a letter from the government telling her about construction and also telling her to change her pipes in her building because she's the landlord of that building. So yeah, things like lead, like mercury that can be in the water, chlorine, fluoride. These are chemicals that also disrupt the gut bacteria. These microorganisms can be affected by these chemicals, just like our thyroid can be affected by these chemicals too. And so pesticides and all the food additives, all the synthetic colors in junk food, especially in these synthetic foods, the preservatives, this can also disrupt the gut microbiome. And so it's really just a matter of avoiding processed foods as much as you can, and then building up your gut microbiome. So there's, definitely lots of things that you can do to protect and safeguard your health. So I wanted to share with you the 4R approach. Like, you can even Google it. It's kind of, a lot of health practitioners use this strategy, and I do as well. And basically, the first R is to remove the irritants. So it's kind of like our climate going, the pollution going on, and basically saying, let's first remove the plastic bags. Let's first remove, dumping all of this into the ocean. So basically it's the same concept. So remove anything that could be toxic, that could be irritating to your health, to your gut, and then replacing it with diverse foods, with organic vegetables, whole foods, kind of like replacing the plastic bag with the paper bag, or with a disposal, like a cloth bag, something like that. So the idea is, what do you replace those foods with? And also, how do you repair the gut lining? So if you do have inflammation or pain or cramps, how do you repair that? Or your stomach, some people have nausea, some people have heartburn. How do you repair the gut lining? There's supplements, there's different foods, different teas that you can take. And then the 4th R is, how do you repopulate the gut bacteria? So of course there's probiotics, but there's also fermented foods that are full of good bacteria, and it's much more potent actually than the capsules themselves. So I'll share that with you in a couple of slides. And then of course, we always look at things in a holistic way. You want to reduce stress. You want to prioritize sleep, take care of yourself, because stress also plays a role in your gut microbiome. These are intelligent microorganisms. They sense the stress. Just like when you're stressed, you don't feel like eating. If you're nervous, you don't want to digest food when you're fatigued, and you just don't have the appetite. So it's a similar concept. So try to reduce stress as much as possible, and to increase movement so that the blood supply gets to your gut, so that it has enough energy. And it can help with gut motility. It could help with constipation. So exercise can then move things along and increase blood supply to the whole digestive system. So yeah, how does that sound? I just want to know if that makes sense. And the next part of this is really, I want to share with you what could irritate the gut and what you can do about it. So really going through the 4 R's. So like I had mentioned earlier, there's chemicals, there's pharmaceuticals, there's various things that you may look at reducing, or, like the water filter, and even in the air, if you have mold in the house, if you have certain things that are causing allergic reactions, of course, you can get a better air filter, air purifier, and even getting someone to inspect the house for mold. Like I actually got someone for our basement. There was flooding going on, and so we got an air quality inspector, and basically they told us what to do. And so just trying to eliminate the process of eliminating the toxins that could be causing some kind of load on your gut health and on your elimination organs. And so in terms of food, there's many people now are seeing some sensitivities, and it doesn't mean you will be, but it's just to keep in mind that there could be sensitivities to things like dairy, sugar, gluten, eggs. Those are kind of like the top ones that I've seen. Nuts and seeds, like peanuts especially, Fatty foods. Fatty foods can congest your gut and your liver. So things like hydrogenated fats, and I'm not talking about healthy fats. So don't be afraid of eating healthy fats, but things that are processed, like hydrogenated fats. So you need to read the ingredients. A lot of times that's margarine. There's hydrogenated modified palm oil in crackers and cereals, but you do need to look at that to make sure you're not consuming trans fats. Also, some people could be allergic or sensitive to alcohol, especially if they have a sensitive gut. Alcohol can increase the sensitivity. Caffeine could also increase the sensitivity in the stomach, especially if you have heartburn. Some people can, have a tough time with the acidity in coffee. And meat that has antibiotics, like commercially grown meat, depending on where it's sourced, it could have hormones and antibiotics added, or fed with certain grains that have pesticides and insecticides added. So it's good to know the source of the food and to go with quality over quantity. I actually have, and I can send Sandy the link, but I have different farms, local farms that I get the meats from. There's organic vegetables and local farmers market that you can get fresh produce that don't have sprayed with glyphosates and all kinds of pesticides. So, but it does require a little bit of shopping around and, looking at ingredients. So if you're not sure if you do have a food sensitivity, you can get one done with a lot of naturopaths today offer food sensitivity tests, but you can then see if there's certain foods you may want to avoid just until your gut lining is healed. There's also an elimination diet that a lot of people do. They could eliminate sugar for 30 days and then see how they feel, or eliminate dairy and then slowly add certain things back. And one important tool that I like to encourage to use is food journaling, because that's the main way that you're going to get feedback, and you can then perceive the pattern of how your digestive system is reacting. Just for example, I have a client who used to get chronic headaches, like migraines and different degrees of pain. And for the longest time, they didn't really know what triggered it. But after doing a food journal for 2 weeks, they were able to see that it was MSG that triggered their headache, because what happened was that they would have like a Vietnamese soup or some kind of food with MSG, and they'd get the headache 2 days later. So it wasn't an immediate reaction. And that's what made it hard for them to know what was triggering it, because it wasn't immediate. It happened 2 days later. So, but be able to journal that, you can track the pattern and you can see, okay, now I know, maybe, try to eliminate certain foods that are causing a reaction in your body. Also here, I just wanted to mention very quickly about processed sugars, just because people who are, already kind of they want to support their immune system. One thing that maybe many people don't know about sugar is that it depletes your body's minerals. It's called an anti-nutrient. It has a negative effect. So a lot of people may associate sugar to, okay, I don't want to get fat, or I don't want to get diabetes. But there's so many more issues that sugar can trigger, because when you think of nature, you think of having an apple. It's a sweet fruit, but it also has fiber. It also has enzymes. It also has minerals packaged in that fruit. But if you isolate just the sugar, now your body needs to extract minerals and enzymes to then process that. Whereas if you were to have a banana or an apple, your body doesn't need it. It's already provided for you to digest it and to assimilate. So over time, when when you take too much sugar, there's a lot of acidity, and to alkalize that, your body will need to extract minerals. It could affect your bones, because your bones are very alkaline. It has minerals like calcium, magnesium. So your body will literally take away from your body's reserve of minerals to process sugar. So that's really an area where you want to be careful with. And also, there's been studies show that the immune system is actually weakened about an hour and a half after eating sugary food. So that's why you have that kind of lethargic fatigue as well, with the insulin rush and the sugar low. So just, make sure that you do read the ingredients and avoid these processed sugar. And if on occasion you want a bit of that sweet flavor, go with fruits. You can make smoothies. You can use raw honey or maple syrup, blackstrap molasses. The darker it is, more minerals are there. The blackstrap molasses have iron and magnesium, and it's actually one of my favorite sweeteners, especially if you have like a little bit of anemia or borderline anemic. You can put a spoon of blackstrap molasses with lemon juice, because again, iron is best absorbed with something acidic. So if you are taking iron supplements, make sure you take vitamin C with it. If you're taking, spinach, squeeze that lemon over it so that acid can get into and break down the mineral bonds. You can absorb the minerals better. So that's kind of like my iron tea, I call it. I take blackstrap molasses with lemon juice and I drink that with, like, stir it with hot water. And it's a nice drink to replenish some minerals. And then cinnamon is also a really good herb to stabilize your blood sugar. So if you're going to have something with a little sweetener, you can add cinnamon to help with that. And stevia as well is another sweetener from a plant, from a cactus. And many people feel this is not as triggering for the insulin. But again, you could use that in moderation. And to replenish the gut bacteria, again, I had mentioned probiotics. But there's two kinds. There's the capsules, like the supplements, but there's also real food that's fermented. And this is what is traditionally done. So in many cultures, there's sauerkraut, for example. Many cultures have fermented foods, kefir, yogurts, miso. There's so many different types, and you can, put in your comments below if there's one that you love, or if there's, maybe some more exploration you want to do. But again, eating fermented foods is one thing, but eating whole foods so that these gut bugs have food to make them stay in your gut, that's another element. And these food is called prebiotics. So it's basically the food for the probiotics. And it's all basic plant fibers, the garlic, the onion, and this is what will feed the probiotics. Even legumes, flaxseed, beans, lentils, those offer the sugar and the fiber for the gut bacteria to stay in the gut, because you don't want them to be tenants. You want them to be permanent residences, right? You want them to stay, so that you're not just taking a supplement and you just poop it out. So you want to change your diet so that your gut bacteria is maintained, the balance is maintained. So here's a list of fermented foods. There's many more, but like most of these you can buy at the store, at the convenience store, at the grocery store. One of my favorites is cultured coconut, because it actually has a lot of probiotics in there. In fact, 1 tablespoon is 4 trillion. And kefir also, I can show you that later in this slide. 1 tablespoon of kefir is 150 billion. But if you look at most probiotics, they go from 50 to 100 billion. So having live foods like sauerkraut, that's more potent. They're alive, and there's more of it per tablespoon. So yeah, I had skipped this slide. This was more about Beet Kvass. And it's basically just a short story I wanted to share with a client who had chronic kidney stones. Okay, and it was something she had in her family. Her sister had it, her mother had it. And she didn't want to have beets because beets were high in oxalates, and it could increase the calcium buildup and the kidney stones. But I later found out that in Beet Kvass, so when you ferment the beets, the bacteria that comes from it is called Oxalobacter formigenes, and that bacteria helps your gut metabolize oxalates. And it is possible that she was missing that gut bacteria, possibly from her mom as well. That's why her sister was missing that strain, and possibly from her mother and herself possibly have taken antibiotics and had killed off some of those strains. And sometimes when people think, oh, this is hereditary, and you're all eating the same foods, it is possible that it's not just in the genes, but also in the gut. So there's some missing strains in the gut. And when she could drink the Beet Kvass, and actually now she doesn't have kidney stones, she's cleared it, but she's very careful, but she can take this. And it's just something to consider. And I thought that was very fascinating. So yeah, I wanted to share with you that, of course, it's not just what you eat, but how you eat the food that can also affect your digestion. In fact, I made a video on YouTube. If you want to Google Be Champ Health, that's the name of my practice. Be Champ Health stands for Be the Champion of Your Health. I really want to empower people to, to take back that ownership. And so on that channel, you'll see a video about your 4 healthy eating habits. Basically, the first one is to relax. I don't know if you've heard of the term rest and digest, but basically when you're in resting mode, that's when your digestive system works its best. So you can play some nice music or take 3 deep breaths. And traditionally, in a lot of religions, people pray before their meal. And that actually serves as a physiological as well as a spiritual benefit. So yeah, it does help the body kind of relax and get the juices flowing, the bile is flowing, the stomach acid is flowing, your saliva is flowing. So yeah, ever notice when you're stressed, you get this dry mouth when you're nervous? So yeah, you want to be relaxed, want everything to flow, and then chew really well. So you can chew until it's a pasty format, kind of like when you're feeding a baby. You want to treat your stomach like it's a baby. It's a very gentle organ. So you want to chew until the saliva is encompassing the food particles, and then you can offload your liver and pancreas. So it doesn't have to work as hard. That could help with reducing bloating. And another tip is to limit your liquids. Like for sure, you can drink some lukewarm water, some lemon water, but don't gulp large amounts of cold ice water, which we've often seen, especially in restaurants. It's kind of like a culture here, not so much in Asia, but in Western culture, it's a lot of cold drinks, but try to reduce that. And then just eat until you're satisfied, and you'll know when you're no longer hungry. And a side note is to prevent bloating, it's best to keep the fruits separate from the main meal. So about 30 minutes before or an hour after your meal. So it's not all mixed up and getting that fermentation effect. And like I said earlier, rest and digest, it's very important for optimizing your digestive system and absorption of the food. And I also want to talk about the opposite of that. So the fight or flight mode. When you're in fight or flight, and most people don't even realize that they are because they're chronically stressed, but a lot of times that could interfere with the bile and the pancreatic juice. So again, the enzymes. And the low stomach acid could definitely affect how your enzymes are going to be created, because the stomach acid actually triggers more enzymes. So then, that affects the gut bacteria going downstream, and it could cause inflammation in the intestinal lining. So again, so you want to be really relaxed when you eat. Here, I just want to say that the nutritious part is one pillar, but of course, how your emotions are can affect your body, your digestive system. And so there's more than just one thing, right? This is why holistic health is so fascinating to me. And I think that there's many facets, many aspects that could support you. So the more tools you have, the better. And exercise is definitely one area. Sleep, again, can affect the gut microbiome. Some people who don't have enough sleep, they can offset their metabolism. It can slow it down. They have faster weight gain if they're not sleeping consistently. So I kind of like to compare it to a combination lock. So it's kind of like there's these 5 areas, 5 codes, and if you're missing one, it won't open the lock. Kind of that concept. So yeah, you just want to evaluate different parts of this system. So then the first one I want to talk about is to lower stress. And lowering stress is really, I guess, key. In fact, some people may say that it's the vibration of your energy is even more important than the food. And some people have said, it's because if you were to eat healthy, but you're stressed, then of course it impacts, like I said, the whole system. And so, yeah, take breaks from the news. Look to practice some positive self-talk, positive affirmations. I love this book that's right behind me. You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. There's a lot of good positive affirmations in the book. You can also call your loved ones or friends. Find ways to bring more joy into your experience. For me, at any given time, I could say, yo, what's going to make this experience better? Maybe you can put on some nice music, or put some essential oils in a diffuser. That's actually a very nice way to boost your mood. I would recommend orange. Like wild orange is always such a nice mood booster. Lavender, there's been studies that it reduces cortisol, so it reduces the stress hormones. It helps you relax. Peppermint, it's very activating. It clears your mind. So yeah, just use various tools. Learn a new hobby. These are things that can trigger some more of these feel-good hormones in the body. And the second part of the combination is to talk about whole foods. So I did talk about different types of foods, but just going into it a little bit more specifically, you want to look for color, a diverse amount of color that's filled with antioxidants, vitamins, and phytonutrients, so from plants. The benefit of having plant-based foods is that they absorb the energy from the sun and from the earth, and you're now taking in that energy. And so the best vegetables for your liver, for gut health, are in the cruciferous family and in the bitter greens. So cruciferous family of foods are like broccoli and cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, asparagus, and they have that sulfur smell. That's why, you have that smell from Brussels sprouts and you're like, oh, and some kids just don't, they're repelled by that smell. But that's the component that can support your liver to then make glutathione, which is the master antioxidant. So it's very powerful to eat more rapini, cabbage. These are very powerful foods. Also, again, don't be afraid to add more healthy fats, because it's very good for your skin health, for the gut health, for your brain. Things like omega-3 from wild-caught fish, coconut oils, avocado, nuts and seeds, grass-fed butter. And I often say grass-fed because it has like much more vitamin D and much more omega-3 than the non-grass-fed butter from cows that are not grass-fed. So olive oil, and of course, these are fats that you can add on to your food, to the salads. Doesn't necessarily have to be cooked. Fermented foods are also great, just like I had mentioned. And if you need any more information about fermented foods, I'll be happy to, share that with you, even recipes on how to make your own fermented foods. Bone broth is great for the gut. It has minerals, collagen, but be careful to choose organic bones, because otherwise, if the animal isn't healthy, then a lot of the toxins get stored in the bones. So you want to choose healthy, know the source where that is from, and incorporate more herbs and spices. So that's another thing, spices like turmeric and ginger. It's great for the gut, great to lower inflammation, but it also has another powerful capability, and it's to fight parasites, is to fight microbes, and, so that, you that kind of a break from your immune system. So things like clove, for example, are antiparasitical, and oregano, again, is the same. And also, I did want to mention organic animal products. Like if you want to eat the glands, like the liver, the heart, all of that, try to go for organic animals, meats, eggs, free-range eggs, wild-caught fish. So this is actually from my own kitchen. I just wanted to show you like an example of, lots of broccoli with a couple of colors, at least 3 colors, just to make it simple for you to remember. If tonight you want to do Brussels sprouts, for example, you can add carrots, you can add some mushroom, put it into a broth. Very simple, add some herbs. And the herbs themselves, there's so many herbs that are so great for us. And any of these herbs can be changed into a tea. So any herb like rosemary, peppermint, cinnamon, garlic, all of that, you can actually put hot water, put a lid on the cup, let it steep for about 10 minutes, and that could be a tea. So you don't even need to go to get tea bags. You can just slice some ginger, add some oregano. I love to do oregano. I have it on my salad, but I just put a teaspoon into like the strainer, put hot water, and it's great to to boost your immune system. It's good if you start feeling a little itchy in your throat, some inflammation, you can drink some oregano. And if you have some bloating going on because you think maybe you ate some old food, you can use clove to kind of, get rid of some bacteria there. And I have some suggestions for teas here. So fennel tea is very good for nausea. You can just take simple fennel seeds, crush them for more potency, and put them in hot water, or you can boil it. Boiling it will make it more potent as well. Lemon ginger, that's really renowned for cleansing, good for the liver. There's a very famous Ayurvedic tea. It's called CCF. It's coriander, cumin, and fennel. And it's great to balance the energy, the doshas. So basically, if you're very fiery, if you have too much acid, or if you have very low acid, doesn't really matter. This tea can still stabilize and help the digestive system. So that's in the Ayurvedic side. And but in general, turmeric, black pepper, those are great herbs, and they are usually put together because they're synergetic. The turmeric and black pepper together is better absorbed in the body. So if ever you want to use turmeric, add some black pepper so it could be better absorbed. The antimicrobial teas are things like clove, oregano, and garlic. And then again, the sugar regulation, that's cinnamon. And some supplements that are good for the gut. Yeah, for sure, talk to a health practitioner. But the probiotics, I had mentioned that. You can get digestive enzymes if you have trouble digesting certain foods. Like you'll feel indigestion, a heaviness in your stomach after a meal. You may need digestive enzymes. If you have some pain in the stomach area, or you need to soothe it because it's too acidic, you can always use aloe vera. L-glutamine is a type of amino acid. It helps to build the stomach lining. It's a key component of it. So there's powder forms. You just put it in water and drink that. Collagen, bone broth, the same thing. You can even get it in powder form. Colostrum is for people who are very severe digestive issues, bowel issues, and that is a healing kind of substance that they can consume. And then omega-3 and coconut oil, those are very gentle on the gut. And apple cider vinegar, again, it's something people often take before their meal to stimulate digestion, so a little bit of acid. That's why some people like, pickles, they have a little pickle. It kind of makes their appetite grow up a little bit and expand. So that's the idea with apple cider vinegar. And then again, the antimicrobial, these exist in supplement forms as well, capsules. So oregano, garlic, grapeseed oil and black seed oil I've used for people who have parasites, and they often have these digestive issues where they need some antimicrobials. And so black seed oil can also kill candida, which is kind of like a yeast that feeds off sugar. So if you have a yeast overgrowth, black seed oil is also an element that can help. And yeah, this is just a slide. Again, don't have to memorize, but my point to show you is that there's a lot of strains of bacteria. So if you were to go shopping for a probiotic, if you want to read the ingredients, you'll see like all these weird words, it's all these long words, but it's still under study. There are some strains that, like I said, are associated with weight loss. There are certain strains that can help with your mood. And so that's why now you're seeing more and more different probiotics that are specific to certain health conditions, just like the ones I showed here, for mood, for urinary tract, for vaginal infections and things like that. And so it's good to talk to your health practitioner to find out if you would benefit from any of these probiotics. And of course, when you're tired, when you're recovering, sometimes you don't have a big appetite, you might feel nauseous. Look for things that are easy to digest. Look for things that are nutrient dense. So not all calories are the same. Don't just boost calories for the sake of boosting calories. Because like I said, if you have something sweet, that could deplete your body. So even if it's high calorie, in the end, you feel depleted. So you want to take something that will actually benefit your body, nutrients dense. things like bone broth and soups, easy to digest, pack it with vegetables, pack it with some coconut oil, some healthy fats. And smoothies are great as well. I have a little recipe here just to give you an idea. But of course, you can replace the greens with your favorite leafy green. You can squeeze some lemon. You can even put a little bit of ginger in there for the smoothie. And you can add a tablespoon of chlorella. And I put a little asterisk because you can replace that with any green powder like spirulina or even chlorophyll liquids. That's great for the blood. It's very cleansing. And then add water to it. And the teas that I've listed, you can sip on it through the day. And that's very cleansing for the body. And so the code number 4 is exercise. And I know the Wellness Center here offers massage, which is amazing. You should really take advantage of the services because massage is great, to enhance the circulation, to drain the lymphatic system, get rid of the toxins. Dry brushing is also another way. You can take a brush and just go along your stomach, your abdomen when you're digesting food. You can do gentle exercises like walking and rebounding. And if you have trouble with balance, they sell these handles here that you can just hold on to while you're jumping. And if you find that you're not well enough to do that, you can even sit on a rebounder and just go up and down. And that will move the lymphatic system and, give you more circulation. Stretching is very important. And so all of this can help bring the blood supply to your gut. Very good for people who are constipated or who just feel like there's indigestion. Movement could help, bring more blood supply and bring more gut motility. And last but not least, the microbiome also depends on sleep to regenerate, to regulate the circadian rhythms, to regulate hormones. So getting good quality sleep is very important. Sometimes people have trouble sleeping because they're low in magnesium, they're low in certain minerals, or they're just stressed out. So finding ways to meditate, to have a good bedtime routine, maybe use essential oils, or maybe take an Epsom salt bath, something relaxing just prior to bedtime. And if you do have a device, like most of us, try to leave it far from the bed, put it on airplane mode or shut it down when you recharge so that the EMF, the electromagnetic frequencies, they don't interfere with your sleep. So try to put that far from your head when you're sleeping. And so definitely look for ways to support your sleeping schedule. And if you need to have any assistance with meditation, I used to be a yoga teacher. I was certified here in the West Island, so I'll be happy to help you as well. And that's pretty much the end of the 5 codes. But last but not least, I'll leave you with this slide. It's one of my favorite sort of principles about health. And it kind of reminds me of running a business or, investing in your finances. So you have always the expenses and you have your revenue. And you want to lower your expenses as much as possible. In the business, you want to lower inefficiencies. You want to get rid of, additional expenses, right? And you want to maximize your revenue to increase your profit. So with that principle, you want to lower toxins, and negative emotion is one as well. So it's very important to be mindful of your thoughts and increase your nourishment. Go with nutrient-dense foods, whole foods, and live with the sense of gratitude and love, and that will boost your vibration. That will help your body and its ability to support the immune system and digestive system. So lower the toxins, increase your nourishment, and I wanted to finish off by thanking you all. And I'd like to offer you a 30-minute talk. If you have any questions after this presentation, you can book a time with me. The link is right there. And I can put it in the chat box if you'd like later. And also I'll give Sandy the slides. And I have a free ebook that has recipes in there that I'd love to give you. And I'll send that to Sandy as well. And just one more point before I finish is that you can find me on social media. It's the same handle called BChamp Health. And you can find me on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, where I post weekly videos and health tips. So I'm just going to share the slides and open it up to Sandy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Cindy. That was a really great presentation. Actually, you started so fast, I didn't have time to really introduce you and give your little bio.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah,
it's okay. I'm going to actually, before I go to the questions, I'm just going to explain to people that Cindy Wong is a registered holistic nutritionist in Ontario and a wellness practitioner in Quebec. So she is trained in identifying dietary deficiencies, optimizing immune function, gut health, and reducing inflammation, which are the source of many diseases. So definitely, as probably in the presentation, you notice that Cindy, for 20 years, worked in engineering, marketing, training, and management in the corporate world. So she made a big career change and in 2020 certified herself as a registered natural nutritionist at the Canadian School of Natural Nutrition. And as she mentioned, that she holds a yoga teacher training certificate also. So incredible, very interesting workshop. I did have one question. Somebody asked about monk sweetener.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah, the monk fruit. Yeah, that's actually a very good one too. You can use that. It's better than the cane, the regular white processed sugar.
Okay, okay. And if somebody would be interested to see a naturopath and wouldn't have to have a food sensitivity test, would that be very expensive?
I think it ranges between, it depends, but the one that I've seen last, and it's been a few years, it was $130.
Okay.
So it may be a little bit higher than that. And depending on your insurance, you could probably be able to get that back at the naturopath for naturopath services.
Okay, perfect. Definitely. I think that in the PowerPoint, definitely you talked a lot about teas because some people talked about the teas and you did talk about that. You gave a life example about the person who had the kidney stones. Yeah, and I think it was so definitely, as we mentioned at the end, that I will, anybody who's interested, we can give Cindy's link and her ebook, which is exactly, Cindy, it explains your PowerPoint.
That's yeah, it does have more explanation on certain supplements, describing what they do, what the benefits are. So yeah, it does. Do you want me to show a very quick sample of the ebook?
Definitely.
I could do that, yeah.
And the links that she talked about, the 4 R's and the B Champ Health, all that, I will jot down all these links. I didn't know if anybody, apart from that, had other questions. I see in the chat that right now everything is okay.
Yeah, so here's the ebook. It's a PDF, and it's called Understanding the Basics of Gut Health. And basically in the table of contents, it explains all of what I had mentioned. What is leaky gut? What's dysbiosis? I didn't use the term dysbiosis because I didn't want to confuse people, but that's the term for an imbalanced gut microbiome. And so, yeah, basically nutrients for the gut, you know, all of these, the glutamine, L-glutamine, omega-3s. So yeah, it goes into a lot of details. The nuts and seeds, of course, it breaks down, gives you a whole list of nuts and seeds, hemp seeds, chia seeds. So I didn't want to like overwhelm you, but yeah, it's I had put down the antioxidants, the minerals, and of course, like, you know, at the end of it, it's really about whole foods. I mean, this can be found in the Cruciferous family, in nuts and seeds, in eggs. So yeah, here's a recipe to make your own milk kefir at home if you have kefir grains.
That was one of the questions, yes.
Oh, there was a question about that. Oh, cool. Yeah, actually, I have kefir grains at home. So if anybody wants, I don't know if I'm permitted, but I mean, I can share because they keep growing. They're literally growing out of control. And I did a YouTube video on how to do this. So if you ever want to look into it, let me know. But this is something you can just add milk to the grains, leave it out for a day or two, maybe a day. When it's warm, you need less time to ferment. And then it'll just become this little bit thick and fizzy liquid. It's sour. It's an acquired taste, to be honest. A lot of people like to mix it half and half with yogurt or juice or something just to kind of, add some flavor to it. Yeah, kombucha. There's meat. Oh yeah, the Beet Kvass I was telling you about. It's so simple. It's just basically you cut up the beets, you add some sea salt and water. There are 3 ingredients really. Like even sauerkraut. When you go to the store, you should look for 3 ingredients. So it should be cabbage, salt, and water. Don't look for the ones that have vinegar or that have sugar or wine. Those are not the same as the fermented type. Those are more pickled. So you want the fermented type, which is really the 3 ingredients. And it will then generate the bacteria you want. And then you can drink that liquid. So it's the liquid from this fermented beet that could help with the gut bacteria.
There was a question that somebody had is relive and non-relive probiotics. And they say that it's not good during chemotherapy.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
It says relive and non-relive probiotics.
We live and not live?
And non-live.
Live, like live?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh,
Relive
okay.
and non-live probiotics.
Oh,
They
I
say
see.
not to take during chemotherapy. Yeah.
Yes, it's true. I've heard that too, just because it might interfere with the treatment. So,
Yes.
and the immune also, because it's live, because there's bacteria, it might affect, your immune response. So yeah, it could be something you take later once you're.
Exactly. And that's why it's always important, definitely taking probiotics or any actually new herbs or anything. It's always important to speak with your oncology team because everybody has many different treatments. It can be clinical trials, immunotherapy. So a lot of people have different things that they cannot take. That's for sure. Yeah. So it's always important. Yeah. So it was very, very interesting. I see that in the chat, a lot of people said, that it was awesome presentation. Thank you. Great information. Thanks. Excellent presentation. So they're looking forward to the video. Definitely, we're going to edit it a little bit. And but no, everything went really well, actually.
Thank you, Sandy. Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Thanks, everybody. And it was nice to see you.